Exclusive. Sportma. Ronda Rousey had severe concussion before vicious Holly Holm KO, but can't think of one fight where she wasn't injured from stitches in her foot to a dislocated elbow. Ronda Rousey has claimed she was injured before every one of her UFC fights. The women's MMA pioneer revealed to TalkSport that she hid several medical issues from the UFC during her tenure with the company, as she feared she would be forced to retire. In the end, Rowdy's UFC career was cut short due to her long history of suffering concussions as an Olympic judoka. Towards the back end of her MMA career, the 37-year-old revealed it got so bad that she got concussion symptoms almost every time she took a punch. In 2015, she was on the receiving end of a vicious head kick knockout from Holly Holm that made her reevaluate her next steps. Rousey claims she entered that fight heavily concussed. However, she also can't remember a time she fought with a clean bill of health. "I've gone into fights before from having concussion symptoms after sparring, but I think that one was definitely the most severe against Holly Holm. So it wasn't like I got tagged in sparring and was seeing stars and had sensitivity to the light and had to lock myself in the locker room afterwards in the darkness to get over. That had happened before many of my fights. And that was definitely a much more severe concussion, much closer to the fight than I'd ever dealt with before. But Robbie Lawler had already pulled out of that card UFC 193, and I had heard that they were trying to break an attendance record. I couldn't pull out and leave Dana White hanging like that. I promised him that I would always be his girl. I would be the one that would show up and fight when everybody else pulled out. I never once turned down a fight. I never once pulled out of a fight. And it's not because I never had an injury, it's because I always fought anyway." Rousey then reeled off a long list of injuries she sustained during her illustrious career, including having 9 stitches put in her foot after being bit by a pit bull before her MMA debut and fighting Sarah Kaufman with a dislocated elbow. She remarked, "My first fight I went in with 9 stitches in my foot from getting bit by a pit bull 2 days before. It was not something out of the ordinary to be just like, oh well, dislocated my elbow. I guess I'm going to have to start jabbing Sarah Kaufman 3 times in the face with my bad elbow. The Julia Budd fight I dislocated by my AC joint. I had a grade 2 separation going into that one. I got an MRSA infection right before the Amanda Nunes fight, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'm fine with MRSA.